ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततः जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम। Today we start Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 26, Shloka number 13 to 24, the I'll give. Swarthasya akovidam dekmam murkham panditam maninam यह अहम ईश्वरतां प्राप्य श्री गोखरवज्जितः सेवत वर्ष पूगान मैं उर्वशा अधरा असमम न तृप्यति आत्मभुः कामावन्नी राहु तिभि यथा। पुंशल्य अपहृतं चित्तं कनु अन्यः मोचितं प्रभुः आत्मा राम ईश्वरमृते भगवन्तम् अधोक्षजम् बोधितस्यापि देव्या मे सुउक्त वाक्येन दुर्मतेः मनः गत महामोह न आपय त्यजित आत्मनः। किम एतया न अपकृतं रज्वा वा सर्पचेतस द्रष्टु स्वरूप अविदुषः यहं यत् अजित इंद्रियः क्वा अयं मलिमसः का यह दौः गन्ध्यात् गन्ध्यात् आत्मकः शुचिः क्व गुणः सौमनस्य आद्या हे अद्य सः अविद्यया कृतः पितरो किं स्वं नु भार्याया स्वामिनः अग्नेष्वगृद्धयोः किम आत्मानः किं सूर्योदाम् इति यः न आवसीयते अस्मिन् कलेवरे अमेधे तुच्छनिष्ठे विसज्जते अहसु भद्रं सुनसं सुस्मितं च मुखं श्रियः त्वग्मास रुधिर स्नायु मेध मज्जा अस्ति संहतो विट्मुत्र भुवे रमतां कृमीनां कियत् अंतरम् अथपि न उपसज्जेत श्रीषु त्रैणेषु च अर्थवित् विषय इंद्रिय संयोगात् मनः क्षुभ्यति न अन्यथा अदृष्टात् अश्रुतात् भावात् न भाव उपजायते असंप्रयुज्यत प्राणात् शाम्यति स्तिमितं मनः। Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. To hell with me. I am such a fool that I didn't even know what was good for me. Although I arrogantly thought I was highly intelligent, although I achieved the exalted position of a lord, I allowed myself to be conquered by women as if I were a bullock or a jackal. As even after I had served the so-called nectar of the lips of the Urvashi for many years, my lusty desire kept rising again and again within my heart and were never satisfied, just like a fire that can never be extinguished by the oblations of ghee poured into its flame. Who, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lies beyond material perception and is the Lord of self-satisfied sages, can possibly save my consciousness, which has been stolen by a prostitute. Because I allowed my intelligence to become dull and because I failed to control my senses, the great confusion in my mind did not go away, even though Urvashi herself gave me wise counsel with well-spoken words. How can I blame her for my trouble when I myself am ignorant of my real spiritual nature? I didn't control my senses, and so I am like a person who mistakenly sees a harmless rope as a snake. What is this polluted body anyway? So filthy and full of bad odors. I was attracted by the fragrance and beauty of a woman's body. But what are those so-called attractive features? They are simply a false covering created by illusion. One can never decide whose property the body actually is. Does it belong to one's parents who have given birth to it, to one's wife who give it pleasure, or to one's employer who orders the body around? Is it the property of a funeral fire or of the dogs and jackals who may ultimately devour it? Is it the property of the indwelling soul who partakes in its happiness and distress? Or does the body belong to intimate friends who encourage and help it? Although a man never definitely ascertains the proprietor of the body, he becomes most attached to it. The material body is the polluted material form heading toward a lowly destination. Yet when a man stares at the face of a woman, he thinks, what a good looking lady, what a charming nose she has got, and her beautiful smile. What difference is there between ordinary worms and person who try to enjoy this material body composed of skin, flesh, blood, muscle, fat, marrow, bone, stool, urine, and pus? Yet even one who theoretically understands the actual nature of the body should never associate with women or with men attached to women. After all, the contact of the senses with their objects inevitably agitates the mind, because the mind is not disturbed by that which is neither seen nor heard. The mind of a person who restrict the material senses will automatically be checked in its material activities and become pacified. Therefore, one should never let his senses associate freely with women or with the men attached to women. Even those who are highly learned cannot trust the six enemies of the mind. What to speak then of foolish persons like me? All the fools of this world uh, consider themselves very wise scholar, even though intoxicated by sense gratification and maddened by their lust for women's association. They become just like bullock and jackasses by the mercy of a saintly spiritual master. This lusty propensity can gradually be removed, and one can understand the terrible, contemptible nature of the material sense gratification. In this verse, King Pururava is coming to his senses in Krishna consciousness. As described in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagwatam, the goddess of Urushi plainly told Pururava that he should never trust women or believe their promises. Despite this frank advice, he became fully attached and thus suffered great mental anguish. When a person mistakes a rope for a snake, he becomes fearful and anxious. Such fear and anxiety are, of course, illusion, since the rope can never bite. Similarly, one who mistakenly thinks that the material illusory energy of the Lord exists for his personal sense gratification will certainly bring down on his head and on avalanche of material, illusory fear and anxiety. King Pururava frankly admits here that the young lady Urvashi is not to blame. After all, it was Pururava who mistakenly considered her to be an object of his personal enjoyment, and therefore he suffered the reaction by the laws of nature. Pururava himself was the offender for trying to exploit the external form of Urvashi. Pururava was understand that although he was mainly attracted to the fragrant, shapely body of Urvasi, In fact, that body was a sack of stool, gas, bile, mucus, hairs, and other repugnant elements. In other words, Pururava is now becoming Jane. The phrase Uchanishte or headed toward a lowly destination indicates that if buried, the body will be consumed by worms. If burned, it will turn to ashes. And if dying in lonely place, it will be consumed by dogs and vultures. The illusory potency of Maya enters within the female form and bewilders a man's mind. The man is attracted to Maya appearing within the female form, but when he embraces the woman's body, he ends up with two handfuls of stool, blood, mucus, pus, skin, bone, hairs, and flesh. People should not be like cats and dogs. In the ignorance of bodily consciousness, a human being should be enlightened in Krishna consciousness and learn to serve the Supreme Lord without falsely trying to exploit his potencies. It may be good that even while closing one's eyes, while dreaming or while living in a solitary place, one may remember or contemplate sense gratification. Such as experience, however, is due to previous sense gratification that one repeatedly saw and heard about. When one restricts the senses from their objects, especially from intimate contact with women, the mind's material propensity will slacken and, like a fire without fuel, eventually die. Thus end the purport. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Sri Guroho Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyato Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhecha Kripa Sindhubhe Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Now today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 chapter 26 from shloka number 13 to 24. In these shlokas, the L means King Pururava described what the condition means, who is attached to the woman and which persons are attached to the woman, and we contact such a person, what his condition became, that described in these shlokas, and to uh, give up this condition and come out from that condition, what we want. And at last he understand that he is not giving the blame to the Urvashi Apsara, because she has no blame. He wanted to give him blame because she blamed, because every mistake of the Pururava, is Pururava, because he attached so much because of his beauty. And like that, we also attach in material nature because of our relatives, our friends, our property, and we all attached so much that we cannot give up this condition, and came out of that uh, uh, condition. And when we take the shelter of the Krishna and we chant and do service, and as everywhere where we heard about ABCD formula, then we come slowly, puring our hearts and come on the path of the bhakti that is described in this shloka. Prabhuji will tell you in detail. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you very much, Mataji. So here we are seeing that now Maharaj Pururava, once he is realizing what mistake he has been doing, he is going and doing a lot of introspection and making a lot of assumptions. He's in fact trying to make his own position very clear. He's saying that he should be going to a hell. He is such a fool. He doesn't understand what is good for him. He was so arrogant that he thought that he was intelligent. What he has achieved is he allowed himself to be taken up by a woman as if he was a bullock. In fact, he says that whatever association I have had with Urvashi, maybe my lusty desires in fact increased because of that. Because a fire can never be extinguished by pouring ghee on it. So it acted like increasing the fire. The only thing which could have satisfied me could have been Lord Shri Krishna, who is beyond material perception. And that is something, in fact, which I lost completely because of this wrongful association. So if I think that it is because of our association that I had a downfall, then again I'm making a mistake. I was not forced into her association. So I cannot blame her for my trouble. Because actually, it is me myself who has been ignorant about my real spiritual nature. Because a person could not control the senses, and because of that, he considers a rope as a snake. Similarly, uncooled senses are the cause of all these sufferings, which are like poison which comes from the bite of a snake. So we have to be very careful because this body actually is nothing but a place of full of pollutions. Though he may try to get himself attracted by the fragrance and beauty of the opposite sex, but they are all false coverings which are created by illusion. Many times there are questions which arise: whose property is this body? Does it belong to my parents who have given birth to me? Is it belonging to my spouse who is giving it the pleasure? Is it belonging to my employer who is ordering the body around and giving me the money? Is it the property of the funeral fire? Or maybe in some cases, dogs, jackals who ultimately devour it? Is it the property of the soul who partakes in its happiness and distress? Or maybe is it the property of the friends? Such questions generally arise because we cannot decide who is the proprietor of the body or for whom it is there. It all, in different cases, depends on whom you are most attached to. The material body finally is a polluted material form, and it is actually going towards a lowly destination. And that is why we find so many youngsters just staring at the face of women and thinking, oh, what a mal, what charm she has got. So, what is the difference between worms and persons trying to enjoy this material body? So, we have to be thinking of all these things. Even if we understand the actual nature of the body, still we should try such associations. Because finally, the senses, they are the ones who agitate the mind. Now, mind cannot be disturbed by something which cannot be seen or heard. But then, the moment it is disturbed, it cannot be controlled so easily as well. Neither can it be easily pacified. Therefore, we should never let the senses associate freely with others. Even those who are highly trained yogis, siddhas, sages, even they cannot trust the six enemies of mind. What to speak then of foolish people like us? And that is why, though we may be scholars in our degrees, we are fools because we are intoxicated by our sense gratification and we are maddened by our lust for the opposite sex. By the mercy of saintly spiritual master, only this lust, this propensity can be gradually removed. And that is why it becomes important. We understand this terrible, contemptible nature of the material things gratification. The more we get into it, the more we become disturbed. And that is why we have to be very, very careful. It is always our mistake when we approach the objects of our personal enjoyment. And we have to understand that it is we who are suffering because of the reactions by the laws of nature. We share the offenders for trying to exploit others. So the moment we start thinking like this, then maybe the sanity may appear. But till that time, we are tuchanishte, headed towards a lowly destination. It is very important that we should be enlightened in Krishna consciousness and learn to serve Krishna without falsely trying to exploit his potencies. Many a times, it's not only physical, it's always even at the mental level that we get degraded. When one restricts the senses from their objects, the mind's material propensity will slacken and then it will die. So that is what we need to now build upon, give it bigger strength to move forward. And only when we are able to go to that level, we will be in a position to please Radharani, who can then give recommendation for us to be allowed to enter Krishna's abode. And for that, it is important that we understand how to control mind, for which we require association of the devotees, reading of the scriptures, chanting consistently, continuously, taking only Krishna Prasadam, deity worships, and going ahead to go and serve the devotees, to serve the Guru, to serve the deities. It is only then that we will be in a position to satisfy Guru, get mercy of devotees, mercy of all the uh, Guru and Krishna, and with that mercy, go back home, back to Godhead. हरे कृष्ण। दंडवत प्रणाम।